famous is that place, so I like to talk about it. But anyway, this is the place I was telling about here. It was used as a hospital during the American Civil War, specifically Building 5 of the hotels in Camp Day. That's why I stopped right here. Building 5 actually roughly in front of us back there. It's at that end of that corner. You can see that kind of pink building back there, that salmon-colored building. That's Building 5. And that building back there, that was originally the city's ice house. So that's where back in the 1800s they used to store big blocks of ice and stuff to sell to people. And nowadays we take that for granted, you know, but it was a big deal getting ice down here back then. You see today they have the ice house bar over there. That's what that's in reference to. But anyway, it turns out that back during the Civil War, that ice house back there, it got taken over. And it was used as a triage, a place to treat wounded soldiers. And of course, I'd be remiss with the whole tour here without talking about the Civil War, at least a little bit. You know, it turns out that's a big deal right here. But you know, the war, it probably didn't go down the way you'd expect in New Orleans. First of all, there were never any battles fought in the streets here or anything like that during the war. There's some after, but how it happened is right at the beginning of the Civil War, okay, President Lincoln, he recognized that New Orleans was going to be one of the big important financial centers of the Confederacy, right? So you remember all that money, I said, was flowing through here in the 1830s when Lawler was hosting their parties, right? That lasted more or less till the beginning of the war. And, you know, Lincoln recognized that. He knew if he left New Orleans alone, the Confederates were going to have all this money to dump into the war effort. They're also going to control the mouth of the river, and he didn't want that. So long story short, he sent the Union Navy with their ships up here from the mouth of the river. They came up, they leveled their cannons, a bunch of old forts and stuff around here. And basically, we engaged them in that very traditional French military strategy, complete surrender. We said, well, you guys got a lot of guns out there, check it out, we got drinks in here, we got beignets, let's work this out. So they came in and they occupied the city for the entirety of the war. That's how it went down here. Now, these days it's a little bit misleading though. If you watch on TV, on History Channel or Discovery Channel or A&E, all these different networks, once or twice a year, a lot of times they'll do these ghost story specials about the French Quarter. They're always very kind of similar in tone. These shows will have a lot of fog in the streets. It'll be like a sinister voiceover. It'll be like, ghost stories of the French Quarter. The guy in a top hat walking around. And they'll talk, in these shows inevitably about a lot of these old buildings around here being haunted by Civil War era ghosts. It's pretty much like a French Quarter cliche. That any given building around here probably has a story or two about being haunted by a guy in a Civil War uniform, missing his arm or his leg, maybe walking around being creepy to people and stuff. And if you're being inquisitive about that, you might think, okay, where are these dead guys coming from the Civil War? It doesn't make any sense. There's no battle fought here during that time or anything. But it makes a lot of sense. If you start to probe into the history of these buildings, you don't have to probe very far. You're going to find out that the city was actually, very active during that time. It turns out the Union didn't just take over the city and then leave, obviously. They took over the city and they seized a lot of the properties around here. They occupied these buildings. They used them for all kinds of different military stuff. Okay, so for example, let's say they took over like this yellow house over on the corner. You might like that because it's nice and big. They turned that into like a barracks for the men to sleep in, or an armory to store their guns in, or something like that. Or what they really liked to do back then is they would take over a wealthy plantation owner's house upriver from here in the Garden District. A lot of the people who own those plantations up there were like Confederate officers and stuff like that. So the Union guys loved to come into town and take over their house and then go eat breakfast in their dining room and stuff like that. It was the way to go. Anyway, to this day, you can walk through the Garden District up there, and there's ample evidence of this. You can literally, throw a stone in that neighborhood. Don't do that, but if you do, you'll very likely hit a house that has a plaque on it. That says the dang Yankees took this place over during the war. We didn't like it. It was rude. All that kind of stuff. You're going to see that all throughout the city. Okay, these places got taken over and were used for these different military things. So we got that, military occupation going on. We're building kind of a tragedy cake here. So that's the first layer. The second layer of the tragedy cake here is the social scene here during that time. Okay, you have to understand that New Orleans during the Civil War, most of the civilians living here were Confederate women. Right? These are women whose husbands and boyfriends and fiancés and all that, they're all fighting against the Union in the war. Okay, so to put it very mildly, the ladies here did not like being occupied by the enemy army. They kind of did their best to make life difficult for the soldiers. So if they saw the Union guys walking around on the street, they'd spit on them, of course. Or if they saw them marching by in formation, their uniforms, they would overturn their chamber pots on them. They would laugh at their funerals and stuff like that. They weren't very nice. But don't get it twisted. The soldiers were not nice to the women either. They were, it was bad. They would harass the women. They were violent towards them. It got really bad here during that time. It got so bad, actually, between the women and the soldiers here, that during that time, the Union administrator of the city, okay, so remember, the city's under martial law, under Union control, and the administrator put into place what was called General Order Number 28. And General Order 28 said that any woman in the streets of New Orleans who disobeys, dishonors, or disrespects a Union soldier is to be treated as if she's a woman of the town plying her avocation. In other words, if she's a prostitute. So you can imagine that went over pretty badly around here. You can imagine, there's actually still a hilarious echo of that around here nowadays. It kind of left like this psychic scar in the state. You can walk around nowadays. There's like any antique store in Louisiana. Okay, around here you got like a 30-40% chance you walk into an antique store, you're going to find a porcelain chamber pot from the Civil War era, okay, a toilet basically, with a guy's face etched to the bottom of it, this kind of pudgy guy with a mustache. And you find the same face in toilets across the land from this period. And you go, what did this guy do back during the Civil War to get on everybody's toilet? Well, it turns out that was Benjamin Butler up there. That was the same guy who, put into place General Order 28 and all that. So they really hated that guy around here. So it was a horrible time. People getting their face on the toilet. It was a really bad scene here socially, warfare. It was just all over a mess. And on top of all that stuff, all that horrendous tragedy, we end up in places like this. Talking about the city, a few of them, places that we used for much more specifically violent and gruesome purposes during the war. Places that were hospitals and triages and stuff like that. And, frankly, a hospital these days is creepy enough. If you made a map of the U.S. Of all the haunted places, a lot of them are going to be old hospitals and stuff like that. But, a hospital here during the Civil War is creepy on a whole different level. Right? You've got to think this through. If you're showing up here as a patient during the Civil War, chances are you're a very, very young man by our standards. You're probably like 12 to 18, somewhere in that range. There's been a lot of really young guys fought in that war, especially towards the end of it. Okay, a lot of basically children. So you show up here, you're a very young man. Okay, if you show up here and you're probably wounded in your arm or leg, you've been hit anywhere more critical than that, on your gut, your chest, your head, or something like that. You probably didn't make it back here. Again, medicine not very good back then. So you show up here, you got a nasty wound in your arm or leg, and there's only one real remedy for that kind of thing back then. That's amputation. They're going to cut off. That's right. And that's what's going on in large numbers back there during the war. We know that like 300 to 400 people got operated on back there during that time. So it was a huge bloodbath, and nowadays you can sleep back there if you want to. It's part of the hotel. So it's wild, and we end up with a bunch of weird places like this throughout New Orleans where crazy juxtaposition between history and modernity. This is a horrible, gruesome place during the Civil War, and nowadays you can just hang out back there, and it's just a normal part of the hotel. And because of that, we got a lot of ghost stories out of this place, as you can imagine. And actually, of all the places we cover on the story, this is probably one of the ones that get the most stories out of nowadays. Especially if you go on their their travel sites online, they're Yelp and all that kind of stuff. Like a third of their reviews over there are some kind of ghost story. It's either 5 stars, ghost in our room, check it out, we took pictures, there's orbs everywhere. Or it's like 1 star, ghost in our room, our stuff is still up there. Terrified. Depends on the mentality of the person. But anyway, we've got all kinds of good stories. But one of my favorites, we had a couple come on our tour, just like you guys. This actually happens about once a week. They're on the tour and they're actually staying here in the Provencal. And these guys didn't know anything about the history of this place. I love it when this kind of thing happens. And they're here first time in New Orleans. They're up in their room. They're kind of like unpacking their bags at the beginning of the night and stuff. And for a little while, the wife, she comes over, she confronts her husband. She says, "Honey, I know this is going to sound weird right now. Please don't make fun of me, but I think I want to switch rooms. Okay? This place is weird in here. I feel it's spooky. I don't like the vibe. Let's go down the hallway." And the guy, he doesn't want to hear that. They just unpacked half their stuff. He looks at his watch, whatever. And he says, "Honey, listen, we've been here, an hour. We haven't started drinking yet. We got to get our priorities on." So we convinced her to go in the bathroom, start getting ready to go out. So she goes in there. She's in the bathroom. She's doing her hair in front of the mirror, whatever. Whatever it's this kind of weird names, I guess. Doing her hair. And she kept feeling someone coming behind her in the bathroom, like they're trying to scoop past her. So she's flipped around. Nobody's there. And she's looking in the mirror. Nobody's there. And again, after a little while, she comes out. She confronts her husband. Says, "Honey, God, I'm serious. There's somebody walking around in the dang bathroom. For God's sake, let's switch rooms. It's not that big of a deal. Take us like 10 minutes. We'll go down the hallway. We'll be more comfortable." And again, the guy doesn't want to hear it. He's being stubborn. He's probably stubborn as a character trait. He says, "Honey, listen. While you're in there doing your hair, whatever that was, I made this whole plan. Okay, check this out. We're gonna go out tonight. We're gonna have dinner somewhere great. There's a lot of good restaurants around here. We'll go out. We'll probably spend a lot of money on booze. We'll go out. We'll find something fun to do. We'll go on a tour, something like that. And you must trust me, honey. By the time we get back here, I'll guarantee you a few things. Okay, first of all, you're going to be super tired, right? Your feet are going to hurt. You were talking about your feet hurting earlier. You're going to be kind of drunk. You're probably going to face down on the bed, go right to sleep. Right? You're not going to care what room we're in. And of course, that plan backfired horribly. They ended up going on a ghost tour, and the ghost tour ended up here in front of the hotel. And oh my God! Suddenly, her complaints made a little more sense. They ended up compromising by the night she got away, and they ended up staying in a different building here in the same hotel where she felt more comfortable. So that's kind of cool. Some people that I guess that weird intuition, that sixth sense or whatever, they can feel things out like that. This is good. I told this whole story for the ladies that read that. My favorite story though about this place, the one I think I'm going to leave you guys with tonight. This is I think part of it creepier than that. This goes back to Mardi Gras, 2011, and this takes place right back here in Building 5. So this is the epicenter of all that violence during the war. This is the part of the building back there that you get the most kind of staff ghost stories out of and stuff like that. The part that freaks them out. And there's about 3 young college guys who are staying back there. This is during Mardi Gras, and these guys are very much like the couple in the first story. They didn't know anything about the history of this place. And I think, if we're being honest, they probably don't care too much. Here for Mardi Gras. So they're back in their room. They're kind of sleeping off their night, drinking back there. Okay, and one of these guys experienced an episode of sleep paralysis. Some of you guys may have heard of this before. Okay, sleep paralysis is very, very strange kind of phenomena. It's very weird, but it does have a natural explanation to it. Okay, so basically, in layman's terms, what happens with sleep paralysis, as you wake up in bed, you feel like you're awake, you can see, you can hear, and all that, but the part of your brain that sort of paralyzes your body while you're dreaming, so you don't act out your dreams all the time. Basically, that part is still active. And the result of that is you wake up in bed, you feel awake, but you can't move, you feel paralyzed. And a lot of people have trouble breathing when that happens. They'll even sometimes feel like somebody's standing over them holding their chest down. So, it's really scary. And it turns out, though, that our brains kind of have a weird way of dealing with this issue. If this happens to you, if it gets intense enough, your brain can actually conjure up a frightening hallucination to scare you away. You can breathe on it. I wouldn't ask my brain for that service, but that's what we got. So it's weird. But this guy's story has a bizarre twist to it. Okay, it has a direct sort of tie in with the history of the hotel here, which is very strange. So he says he wakes up in the middle of the night back there. And at first, He's got what sounds like a textbook example of the sleep paralysis. You know, there he's in bed, he feels awake, he can see, he can hear and all that, but he can't move. He's laying there and he looks across the room and he says this tall, kind of shadowy figure standing there in the corner. I like to think this is a college guy. You know, he probably immediately assume there's a ghost in his room or something like that. You know, he's probably thinking, my friend got up for some reason, he's probably getting sick on the corner over there, you know, he's gonna go back to bed here in a second. But over the next couple of moments, he kind of slowly pieced together a couple things. He figures out, first of all, that's not my friend in the corner. He's too tall, too stocky, that's not him. And second of all, he noticed, oh Lord, you know, my two buddies are still asleep in the bed across the room. They're still, you know, snoring away. So now he puts two and two together. And he figures out, oh God, somebody's in our room right now. You know, and he starts freaking out. And again, he's not thinking ghost. He's thinking they've been out drinking and stuff, maybe he's got drugs or something. So he's laying there, he's panicking, he's trying to get out of bed. And about this time, he said this figure across the room from him actually started to move. And at first he said he couldn't tell what it was doing. It's kind of shifting back and forth in place. But then he said it very clearly started to walk across the room towards him. And as his figure's getting closer, he's able to see it in more detail. And later on, he described it as looking like a tall, kind of a stocky man. He's wearing some sort of dirty apron, and he's carrying some sort of large metal tool at his side. And again, this poor guy back there, he still doesn't think there's a ghost in my room right now. He thinks there's a man in my room right now with an apron and a metal tool. We're getting murdered right now. We're getting cut. You know, so he's laying there, he's freaking out, he's panicking. About this time, this thing got close enough to him. According to him, he just kind of casually walked across the room as if nothing was wrong. He said this thing walked over and clamped down on his leg. He could physically feel this thing grabbing him. And at that point, he said he heard a voice come from a sort of darkened void where this thing's face ought to be, right above him. Okay, and this voice said very softly, almost soothingly, kind of a charming, you know, southern accent. He said, I'm sorry, son, that's going to have to come off. And this poor guy back there, he doesn't know what that means. Right? But he knows he doesn't want anything coming off. No, thank you. So that's finally enough for him to be frightened out of order of trance or paralysis or whatever he was in. He said he jumped up out of bed. You know, now he's fully awake. He's fully alert. He's standing upright. And according to him, this thing, this faceless apparition, what he called, is still right there in front of him, just like it was. Okay, so at that point, he was done with all that stuff. He said he ran out of the room back there in nothing but his boxer shorts. He ran down to the front desk of the hotel over here, and basically, you know, had to spend like the next half hour down there, kind of explaining to the front desk staff that they are going to have to go back up to his room. You know, wake up his two buddies who are still asleep back there, mind you. Explain to them they're going to have to find another hotel room here during Mardi Gras because their buddy believes he's just seen a ghost in the room. He doesn't want to go back up there to get either his belongings or his friends or none of that. So I'm sure those guys are none too pleased with that. I kind of doubt they found another hotel room. You know, probably end up out here on the sidewalk, I guess. Who knows? But guys, that's the end of our tour tonight. I hope you had a good time. Before I let you go, though, I want to point out where we're at real quick in case you're feeling lost. Let me alleviate that real quick. So if you look up this way, you can see in silhouette there the beautiful spire of St. Louis Cathedral poking above the trees right there. So if you want to go back to the alleyways where we started the tour, up there, see those dual structures there? You can walk straight up that way, you can't miss it. There's the giant church up there on the right, you can see it from here. I also like to stop down here, though, as a post up there, because there's a lot of good stuff right around here, okay? It's very convenient. For example, if you're in the mood for drinking, you can take a right at this next corner, okay? Go 2 blocks over that way, you'll find yourself back on Bourbon Street. Okay, the angels will come down from on high, you know, they'll hand you a plastic cup, you'll be set for the rest of the night. At least your own name angel will come down. If you're in the mood for something more romantic or more family-oriented than that, you can take a left at that same corner over there. If you go over that way, you got... Hey, thanks a lot. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, take care, guys. Yeah, thanks a lot. Let's see some coffee.
So that's that building 5 back there.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate it.
That building way back there is that building 5.